overwhelming approval of the Kuroda plan, or is it an absence of criticism that the market likes?
Well, they were certainly very quiet in terms of the full endorsement of Japan's plans, but they do recognise that the real issue of deflation in Japan has to be tackled before we can have genuine global recovery. That said, I do think the stock market is now getting thoroughly ahead of itself across a range of sectors. Investors need to be really careful with stock selection. So I'm looking at companies like ITOCHU, simply trading on a multiple of 6 times, dividend yield of 3 times in the textile sector, ready to motor if we get reflation, but plenty of downside protection if we don't. And I would absolutely urge investors not to assume that we're going to get the 2% inflation in 2 years' time. That looks very optimistic.
I'm going to jump about a bit. UK, the Fitch downgrade, clearly this is a political story. Is there any market impact? Are you expecting any market impact from this?
None at all. I think the real issue at the moment is what will the Bank of England's policies likely be? There are those who say there will be more quantitative easing, therefore support for the gilt market. I disagree. I think there's a far more likely increased emphasis on the funding for lending scheme with no real positive messages for the gilt market, and I therefore see the gilt market as relatively expensive, and if it were to rally, I would be a seller of choice.
Will S&P follow, do you think?
I think that the downgrades across the piece for the UK are likely because the metrics that take people to those decisions are relatively mechanistic. That said, I do think it is utterly bonkers to assume that a sovereign country like the UK that can print money to support its debt would actually default.